Please call the meeting to order. If you all would rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome. The first item for business tonight is the approval of the agenda. Have I got a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. All righty. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the April 17th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. So we are going to switch the new business applications. We're going to hear the P357 application first. That is 6 Hickman Avenue, CTM 134-12-00-321-02, the lands of Jane H. Tribbitt and Timothy R. Tribbitt. 4 Hickman Avenue, CTM 134-12-00-321.03, lands of Nancy H. Rhodes. 0 Hickman Avenue, CTM 134-00-321.04, lands of Jane H. Tribbitt and Timothy R. Tribbitt. And finally, 47 Betts / 2 Hickman Avenue, CTM 134-12-00-321.05, the lands of Carol A. Baker. Application P357 is a lot consolidation plan titled Revise and Reassemble Survey, submitted by the applicant Timothy R. Tribbitt with the permission of his family members listed above. The plan proposes to eliminate an existing parcel and reconfigure the area of these 3 other, resulting in an overall reduction of 1 tax parcel. The above listed properties are zoned R1, single family residential.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to swear in the town engineer, Mr. Lober, planning department head, Ken Simoneau, and the town clerk, Donna Schwartz. You raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in these proceedings today?
I do.
Okay. And these will be sworn in for all proceedings that occur this afternoon. Okay. Further, Madam Clerk, have notices of these proceedings been properly mailed and notified on the public record as required? Thank you.
All righty. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Lober for his comments and submittals.
Thank you. The plan, as you see before you tonight, we have no further comment on it. It has been through multiple reviews prior to being placed on tonight's agenda, and as you see it, we are fine.
Okay.
I would like to ask 2 questions of the applicant for points of clarification to make sure that they truly understand what the plan shows. Take an opportunity to do that when they come up.
Would you like to do that now, or?
Whenever it's convenient for the board.
Okay. All right. We do that when we get to the open, or should we do it now?
When they come up, Mr. Lober.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All righty. Very good. All righty. Any questions from the board up here at this point? All right. So I guess at that point we will open it up for public comment.
Oh, open it up to the applicant.
Or I'm sorry, up to the applicant. So do we have an applicant here to speak tonight?
Yes.
I think I know this gentleman.
My name's Tim Tribbitt. I'm the one that presented all this to you. We're just reassembling some property that we've owned for 35 plus years. It was given to Jane from her grandmother and grandfather and mother and father. So it's just been all in front of us, and we're just trying to reestablish all these lines.
Okay.
So pretty much, hopefully it's cut and dry.
Right, right. Okay.
So, I should have done this when you came up. Can you state your full name for the record again?
Timothy R. Tribbett.
And Mr. Tribbett, you swear to tell the truth in these proceedings today?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
So,
All
Mr.
right,
Sure.
Jim, you wanna?
Yeah. I just have two questions for you, Tim. I want to make sure that we understand the existing easement that provided access from Betts Avenue across the two parcels to the parcel that we're now eliminating in the back. You are agreeable to the fact that that easement is now being expunged? And will be-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also the new easement that you're creating across, I guess what is the middle parcel, for lack of a better way to describe it, that provides access to the dock from the parcel to the right.
Right.
The language for the note that's been placed on the plan places maintenance and responsibility for that easement over the long term. For
It's
those
just
two
grass,
pieces of
it's just a
property.
grass easement right now,
Okay.
that's all it is, just for access, basically.
Okay, but the lot to the south, the lot on the left, plan left, that lot does not have access to that easement per the note, nor does
No.
it responsible for
No.
any maintenance?
No.
Okay,
Right.
all right. That's all. we need.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Tribbett from the council here? The commission?
I got one question relative to this. With all the revisions, do you feel confident that this is going to be, that the development of this property is going to be okay? Or are there going to be other issues cropping up? I mean, I've never seen double revisions. You know, it's, you know, like 6 pages here.
Yeah, we haven't even,
There was, there was a lot of back and forth about the legal wording in the deeds and the record plans, how those different things, easements and whatnot, should be represented on the plan. I feel confident that what we currently have is an accurate plan.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Weber.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you for your comments. Open it up to the floor at this time. Are there any one here that wishes to speak to the matter? All right. Okay. All right, well, with that said, we're voting on approval of this tonight, correct?
If the
If-
board is inclined to do so,
Right.
you can, somebody can make a motion to approve or deny it, however you see fit.
Okay. All right, anyone wish to make a,
I'll motion to approve the application P357.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mark, okay. All righty, so we have before us a request for approval. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the matter passes 5-0. Thank you.
So, Mr. Semino, you'll need them to get your record plan, or, yeah. So, Mr. Tribbett? Yeah, you're gonna need to get the town to stamp a record plan. So you'll need to get up with the planning department, they'll stamp it so you can record it in the recorder deeds office. Okay.
All righty,
It's probably the same one that was
We're good?
provided
all right, the second item on the agenda tonight is application P346. This is 107 Central Avenue. The CTM is 134-12-00-49900. 97 Woodland Avenue. The CTM is 134-12.00, comma, or hyphen 498-00. And then 99 Woodland Avenue, CTM 134-12.00-498.03. This is an application for P34 for a preliminary plan submission for Howard application 346. It's a primary plan submission for the Howard property subdivision submitted by the applicant, is it Plitko? Plitko LLC, on behalf of the property owners, Paul E. Brown, trustee, The plan proposes the subdivision of 3 parcels of land into 13 residential lots. The property is approximately 8.28 acres in zoned R1, single-family residential, located at 107 Central Avenue, CTM 134-12.00-499.00, 97 Woodland Avenue, CTM 134-12.00-498.00, and 99 Woodland Avenue, CTM number 134-12.00-498.03. Alrighty. So, we're good to go? All right, Mr. Lober, it's your turn.
My turn again. Good evening. I'd just like to point out that because we're now at preliminary stage, we're building on the comments that we made previously, the concept level stage. So things that have been partially addressed, I'm not going to go back to what I said originally. I may be just addressing what I had said before. So if there are any questions about how that's developed, you guys can talk about that.
All right.
So, Mr. Lober, this is for prelim approval consideration only.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Okay, so regarding floodplain, wetlands, water resource protection areas, portions of the site lie within a special flood hazard area, Zone AE, elevation 7, with floodway. The project will need to be designed in accordance with the applicable requirements in Chapter 116, Article 1 of the Town Code. A wetland investigation report has been provided and found to be acceptable. No regulated wetlands exist within the property boundary. The boundary of the excellent recharge soils was determined to not be within the subject parcel. Regarding drainage, the site contains a portion of prong 2 of the Banks-Bennett tax ditch, as well as the associated 30 feet wide right-of-way. Development within and/or reconfiguration of the right-of-way will require DENRA approval prior to final plan approval. The following comment from the concept level plan has been addressed about the tax ditch and its limits being on lots. Sediment and stormwater approval will be the jurisdiction of the Sussex Conservation District. However, the town will also need to review the stormwater design. Please provide copies of the sediment and stormwater management plans to the town. Regarding open space, the open space provided on the plan is not sufficient to address the open space requirement included in section 140-71. The code requires 300 square feet per lot or 1/2 acre, whichever is greater. In this instance, 1/2 acre of open space is required to be provided. The area of open space provided on the plan is greater than this. However, it is mainly encumbered with stormwater management facilities and linear along the rear of lots containing the regional drainage ditches. The open space provided is required to be of suitable size, dimension, topography, and general character to support active and passive recreation. This project will require the establishment of a homeowners association in accordance with the requirements of section 140-72 of the Town Code. Regarding the geometric lot standards, the first comment has been addressed about corner lots and front yard setbacks. Lot 6 does not provide sufficient lot width in accordance with the definition included in the code. The width of the lot along the street line must be at least 80% of the required lot width, which in this case is 75 feet. Therefore, Lot 6 must provide at least 60 feet of width along the street line. Regarding streets and sidewalks, an additional 10 feet of right-of-way is required beyond the edge of paving at the proposed dead-end turnarounds. Ensure that the dead-end turnarounds provide the appropriate lengths in both directions as required by the Delaware State Fire Prevention regulations. The rights-of-way and streets will be dedicated to the town for public use. Sidewalks will be required along both sides of the entire length of all streets. The public rights-of-way created within the subject parcel to serve the proposed development may not contain any portion of the tax ditch right-of-way. The public rights-of-way created within the subject parcel to serve the proposed development shall not abut any adjoining parcel unless permission is obtained from the owner of any affected parcels accepting the increase in setback requirements associated with the newly created road frontage. Clear site triangles have been calculated in accordance with DELDOT standards. Where these triangles cross private property outside the bounds of the subject parcel, record easements preserving the ability to keep these triangles clear in perpetuity. Depict these triangles and include the recordation information for the easements on the plan. Provide proposed street names. Regarding utilities, the sanitary sewer manhole shown on the eastern side of Woodland Avenue appears to be a cleanout. Verify that the line from the cleanout to the manhole on the western side of Woodland Avenue is indeed 8 inches. If the line in question is smaller than 8 inches, the plan will need to include sufficient detail to depict the construction that will be necessary in Woodland Avenue to replace the smaller pipe with the proposed 8-inch main to serve the community. No existing water mains are shown on the plan. Depict the water mains in Woodland Avenue and Central Avenue that are proposed for tie-in. Regarding easements, depict the boundary of the existing 50 feet wide private right-of-way and note that it is to be extinguished per this plan. Label the proposed access easement as to be created per this plan. Depict the easements on each lot as required by section 14079B6. Regarding the traffic operational analysis, an operational analysis was provided for the proposed intersection with Woodland Avenue. That analysis has determined that the number of trips generated by the proposed 13 single-family homes does not meet the warrants for either a left or right turn lane. Clear sight triangles have been identified and must be provided as addressed previously in this letter. Regarding landscaping and lighting, landscaping shall be provided at a rate of 1 plant per 3,000 square feet, developed in accordance with section 140.74.3C. The plant type shall be provided in accordance with section 140.74.3D. The existing vegetation within the drainage ditches along the boundary of the property will need to be removed in order to facilitate the clean out of the ditches, which will be a requirement of the final development plan. The existing tree line shown on the plan within the ditches should be removed from all but the existing conditioned sheet so that it is clear that vegetation will not remain after construction. Street lighting will be required in accordance with section 187.8 of the code. And regarding outside agency approvals, approval from all applicable outside agencies will be required prior to final plan approval.
May I ask a question? When you say clear sight triangles, do you mean like yield signs or what?
Sorry, the triangle is the two-dimensional area projected on the ground of the area that needs to be kept clear so that a car sitting at the exit of the subdivision can see clearly in both directions.
Thank you.
One question about drainage. This is going to be a tax ditch, right, as opposed to a normal drainage ditch?
Well, there's an existing tax ditch that runs along a portion of the southwest border of the property. The tax ditch boundaries end, but the tax ditch boundary ends, but the ditch does not. The ditch continues around, wraps around the corner of the property, and then actually continues back to the north between this property and the church's property. That entire ditch does indeed run in the same direction and then across Woodland Avenue to the southwest.
So there will be maintenance from the homeowners association to maintain this tax ditch then?
The tax ditch will be the responsibility of the tax ditch group that governs that tax ditch. The responsibility of the ditch outside of the tax ditch will be the homeowners association.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from up here at this point? Alrighty. Well, let me, is the applicant here tonight that wishes to come forward and give us your name and address, please? Can you see that, Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry.
From where you're sitting?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's a little better.
My name is Ray Blakeney. I'm with Plitco Engineering. We're at 53 Atlantic Avenue, and we prepared the plans that you have before you.
Okay.
Do you want to swear me in?
Yes. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. As Mr. Little said, the property encompasses 3 tax parcels, parcels 13412, 498, 498.03, and 499. It's in the R1 zoning district, and the entire property is 8.28 acres. As Mr. Lober said, there's a tax ditch that runs along the southwest property that ends here. There's also, and it wraps around, and there's an existing drainage ditch along the eastern property line as well that's not regulated by DNREC. There are no regulated wetlands on the site. And there is, as Mr. Lober also mentioned, there's an existing driveway on the north side off of Central Avenue that serves these 2 parcels right here. Our proposed plan as submitted shows 13 single-family lots with a proposed density of 1.57 dwelling units per acre and an average lot size of 14,568 square feet. We're proposing our entrance off of Woodland Avenue here. These dark lines here are the site triangles that Mr. Lobo was referring to. And there's a portion right here that is on the adjacent lot that we'll need to approach that homeowner to see if they'll grant an easement for that site triangle. Our Street 1 comes in to a T intersection. Street 2, which serves the rear of the property, ends on either end with emergency vehicle turnarounds in lieu of cul-de-sacs, just to save room. Obviously, you can see this is an oddly shaped parcel. So we wanted to try to be as efficient as we could with these emergency vehicle turnarounds. Would serve the same purpose. There's not a lot of traffic on these streets. It's allowed in the town codes. That's what we wanted to kind of go with. We have approximately 2.65 acres of open space, which is 32% of the site. But as Mr. Lober said, that's primarily taken up with stormwater management and the tax ditch right-of-way. Sewer for the property would be provided by Sussex County. Water would be provided by Tidewater Utilities and served off of an existing 12-inch main along Woodland that, as Mr. Lober said, is not shown on the plan. We show the connection, but we don't show the main. We'll obviously correct that when we turn in revised plans. Per Mr. Lober's comments, some of the, as he referenced, some of them have been addressed. They were sort of carryover from our concept plan. Some of them are what we would consider like typical comments, but there were 3 that we believe are going to require some changes to the plan. So I'd like to just cover those really quick and explain how we plan to address them. Comment number 1 was the open space. While our plan as submitted meets the town requirement of half an acre of open space, as Mr. Lober said, most of it's taken up by stormwater management features, and we need to provide some suitable open space for active and passive recreation. Comment number 2 from the lot standards. Lot 6 requires street frontage along 80% of its width, which would be 60 feet. It currently has about 35. And what he's saying is that basically it's not the lot width that's the problem, it's the street doesn't go the full length of the lot. And the reason we stopped it here is because we needed to keep it out of that tax ditch right away. So we'll have to make some sort of accommodation to make that work. And the final comment is we need an additional 10 feet of right-of-way beyond these emergency vehicle turnarounds, just to provide access to the street and maintenance for the street. That right-of-way obviously also cannot encroach on the tax ditch right-of-way. So what we're proposing to do is basically remove lot 6. We're going to turn that into a small pocket park, which will then provide the open space that we need to meet the town's requirements. And that will also negate the frontage requirement for lot 6, since this would now be open space and not a lot. In order to get the 10 feet of right-of-way beyond this emergency vehicle turnaround, we have a large lot here that's wide. It's big enough as far as area and lot width that we could basically shift this portion of Street 1 up 10 feet, shift these lots up 10 feet, and that would allow us to shift this emergency vehicle turnaround up 10 feet to provide that 10 feet of area. So that's really what we're planning on doing. We'll obviously make sure that we keep the geometry of the street so that we're keeping this buffer between the adjacent parcel and our entrance street. Otherwise, like I said, I think the rest of the comments are fairly typical and things we can address as we move forward towards final approval and our regulatory approvals. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right, any questions from board up here? No?
Just one question. How are you going to accommodate school buses?
Typically, school buses want their school bus stop to be on the main road. They don't want to come into the communities. What we'll do is we'll reach out to the school district, find out if they would like to have a school bus stop here, and then we would find some. We've got an existing tie-in to the existing sidewalk. We've got some room. We're actually dedicating some right-of-way to the town as part of this project. So I think we could find room for a school bus stop pad there if we needed to.
That's the Woodland Avenue side.
That's Woodland Avenue.
That would be on the Woodland Avenue side, yes, at the entrance to the. I would assume it would be at the entrance of the subdivision.
Now, the current access that the property has to Central Avenue?
Yes.
That will be eliminated?
No. That driveway serves these two lots. We don't want to take that, we can't take that away. So what we're planning on doing is just refining and sort of recalibrating that easement. So what we're going to do is basically prepare an access easement that will be recorded with the approved plan, and then would obviously go run with the land and provide them access in perpetuity.
Okay.
And that is with permission from the homeowners that use that driveway, or does
Well,
that not come
I
into
don't know that we
effect
need
at
their
all?
permission as long as we're not changing their access.
Gotcha.
And we're not. We're, like I said, we're just gonna basically give them a dedicated access easement that runs along the existing driveway as it now stands.
All righty,
You'll have your
You'll have an
opportunity, ma'am.
opportunity.
you'll have an opportunity to speak here in a moment. Okay. All righty, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. Like I said, if you have any questions or if I can address any comments, I'm happy to do so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Ken, you have a comment that you would like
Yeah,
to?
we want to thank everyone that's here in attendance, and I know each and every one of you want to get up and speak. I want to remind all of you that we have 3 minutes, you have each have 3 minutes to speak, so your time is important. So if 3 or 4 people in front of you stand up and tell the board the sky is blue and the grass is green, don't waste your time telling the board the sky is blue and the grass is green. We want you to be able to get your comments in.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, at this point, we'll open it up to the floor here. Would you like to come up and speak, ma'am?
I wanted to see where lot 6 was.
Yeah, just, can you come up to the,
All right, ma'am,
Your audience is in.
ma'am,
Ma'am.
ma'am.
Can you come up to the mic and identify yourself, please? This is a public hearing, we're just trying to keep the record.
I understand.
Okay.
My name's Beverly Brady.
Okay.
I'm at 14 Mitchell. I'm right at the V at the bottom.
Okay.
I've been here
If you want to
15
compose
years.
your question to, if you want to make your comment or pose your question, hopefully we can get you an
Well,
answer.
may I walk in?
Sure.
Can you show me?
She's
This is the one in Wilmington?
Yep. We're gonna turn that into a
She
block.
lives
Make
there,
that a-
and she wants to know about that.
I see. And this is. I am a 15-year resident, and I'm directly on the point there of the property. I do appreciate the design of the reduced number of the lots in this property, especially the relocation from the retention pond that was originally planned on that area. Flooding concerns me with this ditch business. As I mentioned in the previous meeting, the ditch is now taking a lot more runoff water from the Hope Center, the Mariners property, and also a new home that is next to me at 16 Mitchell. That property also has been graded into a ditch that also filters in to the very point of that property. When we have heavy rains, the ditch is full. It runs slow, and it's wet the majority of the time. It does need to be cleaned. It's got a lot of debris in it, and it needs to be addressed. I also understand that this is not part of the tax ditch, is that correct?
The tax ditch ends here. So from here up is the tax ditch. This is not part of the tax ditch.
And this is the responsibility then of?
Homeowners Association.
Okay.
Or the developer.
Right. So, with that being said, I'd like to request with this property subdivision, I'd like to request this study to be fulfilled for assurances of the additional water drainage from this property, the runoff, not go in to that ditch, creating flooding perhaps into my property and my neighbors. I welcome Mr. Simoneau if he would like to come out and walk my property, view the ditch and the condition of the ditch. My other concern is privacy. I think you talked about eliminating all the vegetation. I'm not really on board with that. At this time, I'm requesting the vegetation remain. And with that park area, it would be really nice to have mature native plantings as a buffer for privacy between the property and mine. My other concern is traffic. I think everybody in this room is concerned about traffic. Considering our other development going on Woodland with 100+ individual or villa homes going in there, we're putting 100 more cars on Woodland. I worry about the entrance and exit to this new development being a hazard for walkers and bikers. A lot of people walk their dogs, and school buses, we have that to think about. There's going to be a lot of traffic on Mitchell, and I was hoping perhaps the entrance and exit could be more directed to Central, opposed to Mitchell. It's very, very close to a blind corner, and that's my concern. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to come up and address?
My name is David Sykes. I live at 5 Dove Court in the Briarcliff development adjacent to this. The comment was made that the ditch would be cleared of vegetation. Is that correct?
I don't believe I said that.
No, he didn't.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
The town is going to insist that the conveyance through the ditches be clear of the vegetation.
Okay.
I want to distinguish, because everybody's worried about a buffer. There are banks to the ditch, there's a flow line at the bottom of the ditch, then there might be some area above the ditch. The banks of the ditch and the flow line of the ditch need to be cut clear of any vegetation, or else they're not going to function properly. Any vegetation above that, we are happy to let stay, but anything that is in the flow line, the conveyance of the ditch, is what needs to be removed.
Okay. My property, part of that ditch, technically, I guess, is our property. The easement is on their side, not our side. For privacy's sake, there are some trees. Granted, some of them aren't that pretty, but it's a nice visual barrier. So I understand if you have to clean the ditch itself, the walls of the ditch, or whatever your terminology is, but what's on my side would be undisturbed. Is that correct?
Whatever is outside of the confines of the flow area of the ditch. So if you have vegetation at the top and towards your property, theoretically that would stay.
If it's
Thank
on
you.
your property line.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
and, so it might be helpful, do you know, is the property line at the center line of the ditch, or do you know where the property line?
The property line is actually, the ditch, the majority of the ditch is on our property. It looks like the property line more or less follows the top bank on the far side of the ditch.
All right,
So the majority of the ditch is going to be on our property.
I'm going to correct you on that. At least on the plat that I have, our property goes down into the ditch.
Yeah.
On our side.
It wanders. The property line is a straight line, and the ditch is.
Right.
all right.
And then, if I may, one quick question. The easement on your side, there's a 30-foot right-of-way, if that's the right term, for maintenance of the ditch?
On the tax ditch portion,
On the
yes.
tax ditch. But does that overlap into private property? And are owners restricted what they can do?
That tax ditch right-of-way, maintenance right-of-way is going to be remaining open space. It won't be on lot. It can't be on lots.
Okay.
We can't have any lots or streets in that tax ditch right-of-way.
Okay. Thank you.
Hold on,
Yes, sir.
let me make sure that we're clear.
Yeah.
There's the tax ditch right of way, the main right of way that includes the tax ditch itself.
Okay.
There's 30 feet beyond that
Right.
that DENREC maintains for maintenance.
Okay.
There will be no lot lines or private property within the tax ditch right of way. The 30-foot easement will encroach on some of the proposed private lots, and that is a relatively common situation.
Okay. Right, and then are homeowners restricted what they can do
Yes.
in that overlap?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris Basin, 15 Mitchell Avenue, Ocean View. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate the work that the town did with the applicant to address some of the comments since the concept plan. And I submitted some additional comments on this plan, and I just wanted to summarize them in person. I'm concerned about transportation as well, and during the concept plan review, there was talk of a potential solution to some of the traffic on Woodland there, maybe like a multimodal transportation or something like that. And I believe that plan should be presented and agreed upon before approving the development. I believe in making sure our infrastructure is safe and in place before we add additional development to our communities. And I think we've seen what happens when you do the opposite in the surrounding area of Sussex County. In terms of the potential for flooding, which was already mentioned, I've seen increases in flooding in my development, increases in the intensity of the precipitation, and I'm really glad to hear that the project will clean out ditches. I think that that's great. I would recommend that a lot of care be taken to maintain as much as possible the existing vegetation alongside the ditches while that's cleaned out, because those trees perform a function. They trap precipitation, they hold it up, they filter stormwater, they keep the water cool, and that water all runs down to White Creek, which has a lot of pollution issues. I think a study needs to be done to determine if the additional impervious surfaces pose a risk for additional flooding to my property and those of my neighbors. I think lot 1 that's in the flood hazard zone should be removed. I know that's not required in the town code, but that does meet the spirit of the town code to minimize flood damage. When you put fill in a floodplain, that takes away the function of that floodplain. And we're going to need a lot of floodplain area to handle the additional precipitation that we're going to be experiencing going forward. I would like to ask, in accordance with what Bev was saying, that the vegetation along the ditch, particularly on that little end there, be kept, and that additional vegetation be planted as a screen between the development and her property as well. I think that's all I have. I appreciate the opportunity to make comment.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. All right, anyone else wish to come forward?
Hello.
Hello.
Jim Barnes, 9 Briarcliff Court. Thanks for the opportunity to hear our concerns. Nice development. Figure it's going to be developed one day. Our concern is we are this property on Briarcliff right here. So the concern we have is this road that we're going to look at. And when vehicles travel south on that road, the headlights are going to come exactly into our backyard or into our house. So these 3 circles right there are really important to us. So if we're able to get trees that are able to block, and not necessarily trees that have a trunk with the top part, trees that more of kind of cover the bottom, that would be our concern there. So I just wanted to express that concern, and maybe you can do something like, I mean, I noticed something called Tuja green giant arborvitaes, which there's actually in some certain places, which kind of create a nice barrier. Would be great if we could have that, so we don't have those headlights, and then it also blocks from us looking down a runway road. Mm-hmm. I think cleaning out the tax ditch would be great. If we can take that opportunity to get that done, that would be marvelous to have that done. If they can clean out that tax ditch, it seems like people want that. Getting rid of House 6 is nice for us. I like that. I want more information on the park. I just heard about that, so certainly better to look at a park than a house. So I like that. Is that the question you wanted me to ask?
Yeah, I want to know what, can you describe the park, what it's going to be?
At this point, we haven't really developed the idea. We don't know if it's just going to be green space, if we want to do any like playground equipment. At this point, we haven't really discussed that part with the owner.
And then the only other question I was instructed to ask was, once they receive approval, how long does that take before they start that?
That's up to the builder, developer, or, you know, we can't give you a timeline on that.
Okay.
And market plays a factor in that. If the market is terrible and rates are 10%, and you know, the builder's probably not going to be building, selling houses. So there's a lot of variables that go into that.
So that's up to them. Once they get approved, they can do whatever.
But they have to do something like in 18 months, right, before they can get
Yes,
final
they've got
approval.
a
So they have to
timeframe.
do something in 18 months, at least.
Is that
Right,
something
am I right?
as simple as?
Joe, you're looking at me.
Not from a construction standpoint.
No, I'm not talking about construction.
Yeah.
They have to move forward with final approval plans by that period, right?
Once all of the plans are approved, Veronica's referring to the gap between final plan approval and then recordation of the final plan and it actually becoming a subdivision. At the recorder of deeds, the lots get created, the tax assessment office creates the tax parcels and the addresses, those types of things. Once that's all finished, we have no say over when construction actually begins.
And that could be the next day, and it could be years.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
And for everything you guys do.
Okay, I thought so,
Right.
Joe.
Come on up, we don't bite.
What is that, Joe?
I couldn't remember this. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Elaine Wolf. I live at 95 Woodland. I'm right there. You gonna talk to?
Bob Wolf.
Bob Wolf, my husband. We're at the entrance of our lots next to the entrance. And my question is one, is that house on the other side of your entry facing us like it was previously? Or is it facing the road?
Right now, the way it's drawn, it could be, I think it actually has to face our entrance drive, not Woodland.
So it'll be facing us?
Yeah. I mean,
So-
but there is an opportunity to change that. I'm just looking at the setbacks.
Well,
Because I think
because we're at the entrance, I'm requesting buffers, you know.
Could you show me where is the entrance? Okay, so there's an existing meter there now, is that where the entrance is?
Yep.
Okay, because that's right on our.
I take that back. I know, we had it there originally. One of the comments we had on that concept was to make sure we provided a buffer between our road and your lot, which we've got right here. So we may have shifted that down a little bit.
Okay.
So it may not be right on that acre.
The other question is the retention pond that's directly behind us. Pardon me?
There's two, one next to us and one behind.
Are they wet? I mean, is there,
Hasn't been determined yet. They may just be detention basins where they're just holding water for a short time and then releasing it. Once we have to go through detailed stormwater management plans that have to be reviewed and approved by Sussex Conservation District, and that's when we'll make that.
I just wanted to take into consideration, right now, we don't have a problem with bugs because we don't have a lot of water around us. But if you're gonna have ponds in the back and ponds at the side, and then
Typically, we try to do what they call the
dry
detention
well where it
basins.
goes
Yeah,
down,
exactly.
receipt, which I would be all right for that. Okay, I think I had another question, but I can't remember what it was.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, I know what it was.
Come on back.
We all suffer from that.
I just want to make one remark. If the entrance is on Woodland and that entry is not far from the curve, we don't get anybody doing 25 very rarely on that road. I'm just saying, we're going to probably end up with a lot of accidents because we have full-time people now, us, people across the street, people down the street, full-time. They come around that corner, it's going to be an issue. I'm just mentioning that.
Thank you. All right,
Hi,
hi.
Kathleen Barnes, 9 Briarcliff. I just wanted to make sure I understood something you mentioned about 18 months. So are you saying after, if you guys approve this subdivision, the builder gets an approval, they have 18 months to start it, or is it your approval expire?
No, they have 18 months to apply for final approval, 18 months within which to get final approval.
And then once they get final approval from you, then is that approved forever?
Then they have 24 months to record a record plan, right? They have 24 months to record a record plan. And we were just actually looking for that provision about how far they have to build, and I can't find it off the top, but we can find it for you, and you can call Ken and we can get that information for you. We were just looking for that provision.
And is there like a date they have to be completed by?
I just told you.
Oh, that's what you're
We'll
talking
have to
about.
respond to you on
Oh,
that.
okay, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
understand. Okay.
I was just looking for the provision. I couldn't put my fingers on it, so I went to Jill to see if she.
But you think there is a date?
I
it has
think
to
there
be
is a
completed?
date certain in
Okay.
there.
The code definitely has sunsetting provisions. We're not, anybody at the moment off the top of our heads remember what they are.
Okay.
Once they do start though, there is no date by which they need to be completed.
Okay, okay, all right, thank
That's when
you.
they have to start. But we're gonna check that out, and you can call Ken, and we'll give you that answer once. we
Okay,
get
thank
it.
you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? Okey-doke, well, come on up.
I just need clarification, I'm sorry. Good evening, my name's Julia Hudson, 111 Central Avenue. I just want to clarify, did you say there's a back entrance for emergency vehicles? And I wanted to clarify, was that one, you said there'll be access to 2 homes, so
There is an existing driveway right here that serves these 2 lots that
Right.
are not on our property.
Right.
And we're gonna preserve that driveway with an easement, but it's not connected to our parcel.
Got it.
So it's not, it wouldn't function as an emergency vehicle access.
Can I clarify what you did say about emergency vehicles?
These 2, the ends of this street are what are called emergency vehicle turnarounds. They're big enough that a fire truck could make that, could turn around there. We put those there in lieu of typical cul-de-sacs, just to save a little more room.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So I will close the comments from the floor. All right.
So, just to be clear, for the planning department, if they're inclined to approve this, you want them to approve it with the conditions in, pursuant to the conditions in the letter of the town engineer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, to the extent that anybody is going to make a motion tonight, I don't know if you're going to table this, you're going to make a motion, but whatever you do, but if you make a motion, the town is requesting that any motion to approve is subject to the terms and conditions in the letter of the town engineer.
What's the date?
Yeah, I'm looking for the date.
I think it's,
May 9th, 2025. These terms and conditions will address some of the issues that Mr. Blakeney has related, that they're gonna make changes to the plan. So part of the reason we need it to be subject to those conditions is to make sure that Plitco follows up on those changes, including the removal of lot 6 and the other issues. And the only other thing I would ask is, is the developer amenable to addressing the tree situation at the end of the street so we can block?
We are actually we're showing trees there now. That's what those circles are. And we are intending those to be evergreen trees that will help to screen that view, yes.
Okay, and is the developer amenable to, after it cleans out the ditch, to leave the things on the top of the ditch to?
I can't speak for him, and part of it will come down to grading. If we have to do any grading there, we may have to remove those trees. We won't really know that until we get into stormwater management and grading.
Okay, and you'll know that by final plan?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
they'll have some feedback on that before we approve the final plan.
In all reality, in order to access the ditch, more than likely the trees on their side of the bank are all going to come down.
On Plitco side?
Yes.
Yeah, on
On
Plitco,
Brown
sure,
property, yep.
but not necessarily, I think they were
The
concerned
other
about the ones
side
on the
should-
property, yeah.
The other side, there should be no reason anything on the top of the bank.
Correct.
to
Yeah,
be even
because
moved.
typically, most of it's not going to be on our property anyway, so we can't touch those.
Well, but I'm glad you're giving everybody realistic, that's what I'm talking about, on top of the bank, on the property owner
That should
side.
not be touched.
Yeah,
There's no reason, water doesn't flow on the top of the bank, the water flows in the ditch.
okay.
all right.
All right. Ken, you have a question?
Yeah, and probably for Jim. And, you know, one of the areas where there's a lot of complexity here, and there's things from our review and things from people's comments and whatever, and it's just something that I find it's really hard to sort of wrap my head around here, and is that one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that when they, build these developments and everything, that the drainage somehow all fits together so that it cannot become a problem for the homeowners and stuff. But when I look at all the things that are kind of governing that, it gets very confusing. So we got the town code and stuff that has to do with some of that. Then there's the Sussex Conservation District that has some oversight. there's a connected ditch that's the tax ditch that's controlled by some people downstream, I guess, right? And then just in terms of the review of a lot of the wetlands issues, I guess there's FEMA maps and stuff that guide it. So how do you integrate all that stuff together and be confident that you can, you know, not be flooding out developments nearby?
Sure. It's a very good question. It's a big part of why there's some job security for engineers like myself. The sediment and stormwater regulations for the state of Delaware require that everybody meet a standard by which they're not creating an increase in runoff for various design storms, some of which are small, some of which are large. We can debate whether that's sufficient or not, but it at least addresses the issue of rainfall over multiple storm events, be they flooding, what we refer to flooding events, or being what we could refer to as quality events, where there's that first flush of runoff and we need to take that water and clean it up and filter it before we let it out into the environment. The Conservation District is going to look at a large, I won't say large because that's subjective, but they're going to look at a watershed analysis of the water that drains onto and off of this property. They're going to choose an analysis point downstream that makes sense. Ray's going to do calculations that determines how much water runs through there, how fast it runs through there, and then that's going to set the existing condition. And the design of the subdivision is then going to have to provide stormwater management, best management practices to collect all the additional runoff created by the impervious that are going to lay down with houses and roads and things like that, and then detain it and infiltrate it and do cleanup of it so that theoretically you're not creating an adverse condition for the drainage system downstream. It was mentioned that we should try to avoid putting the water in the ditches because there's problems in the ditches. Well, with all due respect, that's not realistic, right? The ditches are there for a reason. That's where the water goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do something with it before it gets there to make sure that the amount that gets there and the rate at which it gets there matches the way it gets there now. And hopefully with the cleanup of those ditches and providing a consistent conveyance in those ditches, what gets there now will flow better than it does right now. And maybe there won't be such a standing water condition all the time. I will point out, though, that the invert of these ditches are elevations in the single digits, right? And so we're talking about extremely flat slopes and extremely low elevations, right? So groundwater's high, tide elevations affect the eventual flow out of all of these ditches. So, I mean, given where we are, the geography where we are, it's hard. That's what's going to happen. These ditches are going to hold water. Right?
So it's, for these engineering assessments to be done to, make these determinations, there's got to be some sort of a scenario that's used for how much rain we're going to see and so forth.
Absolutely. There are models that have been created by smarter people than I who predict how much rain falls, and then we use that to put into the calculations, combine amounts of rainfall, rates of rainfall, amounts of land cover.
Do those models ever get revised?
They come from NOAA.
Yeah, the rate at which rain falls and the pattern at which it falls has been analyzed and modeled more recently than how much of that water runs off of the surface. So there are updated rainfall amounts and updated rainfall hydrographs which govern the pattern at which that rain falls. I believe the calculations were intended for the middle of the country, and they aren't the most accurate thing for areas like this along the coast. Wow. I will say, though, that they are more conservative because they were more intended for clayier soils, and we've got very sandy soils here. So if anything, I think we end up with less runoff than these calculations tend to predict, but they're the best that we have.
Okay.
Okay.
Which tax ditch problem are they on?
Banks Bennett.
Number.
How many of you attend Banks Bennett tax ditch
problem?
meetings?
No, that's okay.
Excellent.
Ray, do you know which prong number it is? I think it's 2. 2?
Yeah, prong 2.
There it is.
Thanks,
Thanks, Bennett. Okay.
Okay.
Come on forward.
All right, any other questions? Tom, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
You good? All right. So would anyone like to put forth a motion tonight to approve the preliminary plan?
Do we need to have more discussion if nobody's jumping in to make a motion? Do we need to table this? What?
Well, if you wanna table it till next month, you can table it. They don't have a meeting next month?
How do you feel?
I don't know that.
Oh, you don't have a
Between
meeting
now and
next
next month,
month.
we're gonna learn anything more.
Anything more?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're gonna learn.
I'm just, everybody's pausing, that's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
you get the final plan approval too, so I mean, we're not.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plan review based on the recommendations from the May 9th note from the engineer.
That cover what we need?
We need a, yep, that's fine, we need.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
You second it, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second. All right, so, any other questions before we vote? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me.
Got one.
We got one opposed, so motion passes 4-1. All right, thank you. All right, I think we're at the point where we can make a motion to dismiss.
I'll make a motion to dismiss, or can I?
We have a second?
A minute.
I just want to say that this was only preliminary approval. We do have, this will come again. The applicant needs to make changes to the plan in accordance with the recommendations of the town engineer. They'll bring the plan back again. It'll have to meet more requirements, so there will be another hearing on this.
Right.
Okay, they'll have to come back before the planning commission for final plan approval.
Right.
How are we aware of that? Will we be notified or?
Oh, yeah. There'll be a public notice of the next hearing posted in the paper and.
It will likely
And
be what month?
So we've got probably at least a year for, permit approvals and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of approvals they still need to get before this will go to.
The fact is.
If you're in the area that gets mail notice, you'll get mail notice. If you got it this time, you'll get it next time, okay? And also, it'll be posted on the town website.
Okay. All right, so I think we have a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
And we have a motion to adjourn.
I second.
You want a third, Mark?
I thought we had finished.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.